All right, we're going to welcome you back to the Principals Podcast. Today you have the three amigos. You have Mr. Bandera, Mr. Heim, Mr. Murray coming back to our original roots. Today's purpose of this meeting, I swear over the course of this week, we have been making a lot of videos. We had the program of study we made. There was all the work we did with the slides and the adjustment to the actual document of the program. So we've been online a lot this week, a lot of meetings. And more importantly is on Monday, February 8th, we are going back to where we were almost on November 1st, going back to 100%. And so there's a lot of important things that we want to talk about. And probably a lot of questions you might be asking regarding what does this mean? And I want to talk about a few things of where we got to how we got to this point. And I'll have Mr. Bandera and Chaim talk a little bit about the practices that will continue. Again, I'll remind you that November 2nd, I was at an executive board meeting explaining to the board that we were at a point where we didn't have enough staff because of contact tracing, not because of positive cases, but because of people being pulled from that 6-foot rule. And for 2 weeks, we were in the 50-50 model before the entire district went to 100% remote. When we came back to school, the elementary and middle school were able to return to 100% because they were able to provide the proper distancing. And then the Ohio Department of Health, along with our Geauga Department of Health, refined some of the standards here where there was a key word of a 3-foot minimum distance that was added to social distancing. That and the fact that if a student was wearing a mask and following all protocols for keeping themselves safe, that they would not have to quarantine. So since January 5th, upon our return, we were watching our model in Geauga County lower to numbers that were very close to they were early in November with positive cases in our county, not our school, our county. And our contact tracing was almost each week less than 3 to 4 being usually connected to household cases. So this week we were able to communicate with Mr. Quaid and Dr. Hanlon, and they have made the recommendation that we are able to return to our 100% model here in our district. So since we have not been in this session since literally 2020 of November, it's important to remind our students back to the videos that we made with Mr. Bandero and Mr. Chaim driving into school, walking into school, exchanging in between school. And so, guys, let's talk a little bit about that to remind our students. Some of those practices coming in the building, and then some of those practices of just arriving to school on time.
Yeah, that's a great topic to start on. So coming into building for safety type things, we're trying to do our best to keep things as safe as possible. Every day when you come in the building, as you have been, you'll see Mr. Chaim or myself or Mr. Wirtz scanning for temperatures. We're going to continue doing that. We're going to continue running those temperature scanners every morning. And if something comes up, we'll just pull you aside, double check your temperature, make sure everything's okay with that. In the mornings, we're doing our best to not congregate in large groups in the cafeteria. So we're trying to stagger those bells a little bit so you can get to your classrooms a little sooner. Masks. Our students have done phenomenal this year wearing the masks. I know it's not the most fun thing. I was actually in choir today and they were singing in masks, and it doesn't sound nearly as good as it normally does, but the masks are an important step. They've determined that that's an important step for all of us to follow. Just a reminder, when wearing the masks, try to make sure you're wearing them properly. Not like this, not the diaper, not covering your eyes, just over your nose, covering your mouth, making sure you're doing a good job wearing those. Some students still forget their masks. We have masks here at the building for you. So if you ever forget one, don't try to do the sweatshirt. Just come and see one of the secretaries. We'll make sure we get you one of those masks. Also, in the classrooms, we're doing our best, making sure that we're maintaining that distance. Sometimes that 3-foot or closer to 6-foot distance in the classrooms. I know the desk shields are a little bit tight, but we're using all those things to keep the areas clean. And we have extra custodians on board this year who are helping clean those high-touch surfaces throughout the school day. Mr. Heim, would you like to talk about some of the lunchroom things? Yeah, but we're not hearing your microphone right now. I'm not sure why. So,
While he's
so
working on,
Mr. Hines going to work on his microphone while I kind of address some of the lunchroom things, and I'll let him be the parking person. Um, so with the lunchroom, we have marked every seat in the lunch with a green dot. And yes, it was a little easier when we were in the 50-50 model to not be using those. Starting back on Monday, we want to make sure we are using those green dots. The seats in the lunchroom are tight. We cannot guarantee the 3 foot distance if you are sitting right next to someone, which would mean if someone happens to test positive, you would have to quarantine. If we're all sitting on those green dots, that would provide that adequate distance so we do not have to quarantine a whole lunch table because people are right next to each other. Please make sure you're sitting on those green dots. We'll remind you, but make sure you're doing your best to sit on those green dots. And we'll do our best to sanitize the lunchroom, the cafeteria tables. We'll also provide the option of eating in the bleachers if you choose to do so. But please take care of your area. Make sure you're cleaning and doing what you can for that. Mr. Heim, would you like to see if your microphone's working and talk about parking? His microphone's still not working right now, so we'll.
Why don't you come over to one of our offices and we can talk that way? All right, so I want to just reiterate what Mr. Bandera was talking about in regards to the cafeteria. Our staff does a phenomenal job in between every period cleaning the tables, and they do so very, very well. And when it comes to not only the cleaning and sanitation, it's so important that when an adult says every green dot, you do that, and then you can use the entire gymnasium bleachers to have as an overflow. But before we even get into school, there is a arrival to school. So, Mr. Hyam, are you there now?
I am there. I'm over in Mr. Bandera's office. So, one of the things I think Mr. Bandera would agree with me is our students are getting to school on time. Probably one of the reasons is because traffic is in our hybrid model decreased from the normal traffic that we have coming down Maple and Chardon and the other roads, Canfield leading into the high school. Just know Monday, just like if we had a snowstorm or different things, you need to plan ahead. I would suggest you start thinking about leaving home a little bit earlier than normal. Traffic is going to become an issue. Let's just be honest, we're doubling the number of cars in this area coming into school, which is going to make things a little bit slower at the stop signs and parking. You're going to be parking farther back in the student lot. Students, you've kind of had a free pass lately with the student lot with parking passes and different things like that. It is a requirement to park in lots at Chardon High School, Chardon local schools, to have a permit. So if you do not have a permit in your car, please do not try to park in the lot because we will be calling you down and we'll have conversations about that. So one, make sure you're leaving early to get to school and make sure you have the proper parking passes to park in the upper lot or the lower lot. Sophomores, if you have a lower lot parking pass, you need to be parking in the lower lot starting next week.
One more thing about the parking area and driving to school. On the school buses, you're obviously required to wear your masks and things like that. It's very, very easy for our students to remember to think, hey, I'm out of the building. I'm going to go get in the car with a friend and drive home and not wear masks. I know it's uncomfortable, guys. We understand that. But for this time, while we're still kind of spreading the virus around, please make sure you're doing your best to keep that mask on in the vehicle. Be washing your hands. Do all those safety things to keep you and your friends safe right now. We want to stay open in this 100% model through the end of the year. That's our goal. A lot of that's going to be dependent on numbers. If numbers are too high, we're going to have to go back into this hybrid model, or hopefully not, but could potentially be the virtual model again. Do what you can to slow the risk, protect yourself, protect your friends, so we're not having those issues continue.
Yeah, to reiterate, we're not seeing a lot of spreading in the sense of actual positive cases in the building, but that it goes into the weekend. You want to keep on our school for a successful 100% model. We have to do our part on the weekends. We have to do our part for extracurricular activities, work, going to stores, all of those things. And the more that we do our part, the better we will be to be able to continue to have, as they said early on, have our season or have our school year. Again, reminder that on Monday, we're going to have our regular school schedule. That includes our blue model students who are 100% virtual. You'll follow our regular schedule, our white day schedule for Monday, Tuesday, our late start Wednesday with periods 2, 4, and 6, our black day schedule, which is 1, 3, 5, and 7, back to our full white day schedule. We are going to share this information week to week on what the schedule will be. The goal is to continue to remain our mindset on having a 100% model. So it should be becoming a new habit. But just like bad habits may have occurred over the AB rotation, it's important that you take the time to establish some good habits, and with you being able to meet with your teachers and do your work and be able to have new routines that you're most used to. I think that covers a lot. We've made so many different videos on this throughout the year, but we wanted to cover this as we closed out the week. There's a lot inside the week in reflection this week. Please take the time to look at that. But because, guys, we had such a busy week, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to for all the work that went into making this week happen and preparing for next week?
So before I jump into a shout out, one of the things I wanted to address, because we are in the month of February. February presents a lot of different things in society, but one of the things it's kind of nationally known for is Black History Month. So I figured, why not, for the month of February, we have a couple of these podcasts. Let's highlight someone I know we talked about last week with our Changemaker group. So this week I'm going to highlight someone who's been in the news a lot recently, unfortunately for something that's happened, but Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron, I'm a big baseball fan, and I think all three of us are pretty big baseball fans. Many consider him still to be the home run champion, but Hank Aaron hit a record of 755 home runs, was a professional baseball player from 1954 through 1976, just a phenomenal athlete all around. And so when we're highlighting Black History Month this month, he'd be our first person we're going to spotlight. And my shout out for this week, I'm going to shout out to all of our gymnasts. I think we had the opportunity to see our gymnasts, which I know they've had a kind of reduced season, shortened season this year, but our gymnasts are phenomenal athletes, maybe some of the best athletes in our whole school. Sorry, don't tell anyone else I said that, but they're just phenomenal. The things that they do out there on the mat or on the bars or on the vaults, I can't even imagine how they do them. So shout out to our gymnasts, and hopefully a lot of them have a long run and a trip maybe down to Columbus this in the next few weeks here.
You know, Mr. Bandera, you did a great job there recognizing Hammer and Hank. Great choice there. I like to recognize the school counselors. I don't know if everyone knows, but it's National School Counselors Week. And a lot of things that are happening, the counselors have their hands in. They're trying to make a difference, get things prepared. We're always, as administrators, we're always planning for the next step, the next things ahead. And the school councils were an integral part of the things we've been doing this week.
Agreed with everything. And as I've been writing in my daily emails to staff and students and then tweeting out, it's a month of gratitude. And so I want to focus on Friday. I don't know, did I focus on it today, but I just want to focus on my gratitude for children, because all three of us have children, and the moment that you have a child, you realize what truly love means. You think you know what love means, and then you have a child, and there are good and bad days with having a child. But when it comes down to it, our whole passion for what we do every single day is because of children. So because we serve your children, I wanted to give my gratitude to all of our students in this building, because know that they're loved by so many. And I cannot, and I know I'm speaking on behalf of everyone, we cannot wait to see our children back in school again. So we have a very, very busy week. Guys, one thing we forgot to mention is, first of all, it's senior night for wrestling. That would have happened Thursday. Mr. Heim's going to it. And tomorrow, that car that's become a statue out front, that's being raffled off. So I say,
it might be off our sidewalk tomorrow. We might actually be able to clear our sidewalk.
Yeah.
Someone's going to drive that away tomorrow night.
Somebody's going to have a 2020 GMC Terrain that's really nice. Mr. Bandera has moved it a few times. It's got like push button controls.
Mhm.
But that baby is going to be in somebody's hand. We sold over 1,500 tickets, way more than what our goal was of 1,000. So we're appreciative of all of you. All of that money is going into a new scoreboard it will occur this coming spring and summer. So it's super exciting. And I'm looking forward to the day that we get our roof replaced this summer so that we can get rid of those barrels because of the thaw freeze stuff going on. So have a great weekend and go Toppers.
All right, sounds good. I don't know why that didn't work.